In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
Wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you may be around the globe, in the chat room, wherever you are. Maybe you're on the moon, maybe you're in a spaceship, maybe you're just listening. I welcome you to Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. This broadcast is coming at you live from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of these United States. And you may notice in our chat room, we got some new moderators. Not trying to make the chat room look like we don't want more moderators than chatters. But, we've got some good ones in there. And I don't know, maybe they can throw shifts at each other or what have you. So if you're a troll, you don't want to rattle this bee's nest. I'll tell you that now. So, hey, the website, by the way, is www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, and be informed. And by all means, inform others. Very important to do that. Tonight we've got Michael Horn joining us. We're going to talk about the Billy Mier prophecies, the UFO sightings, and also I guess the best way to put it is I've had, since Michael Horn's been on last, I've had now, last couple times, I've had probably two people, I think, at this point. There was a third, but I don't think that counted. But two people who had, kind of challenged his work and challenged the whole Billy Mier thing and claimed that they could prove it. Well, I did offer both of them to come on the show tonight to present what they have, and Michael Horn also agreed to it, which, I love guests who do that, who are willing to face their accusers. That really makes me happy. Now, there's guys like your Marshall Masters who will curse at you and run the other way. And then you've got guys like Michael Horn who will say, sure, let them show what they got. The only problem is those who claim to have the goods refuse to do it. They want to come on alone, but they don't want to come on with Michael Horn. See, and I'm not going to do that. If you're going to accuse somebody, then come on with him. I mean, my God, if Hoagland had did that back when we had Gary Legier on, that could have solved a lot of things quickly. Wouldn't have had to do so many shows. But, I would too. I'd always face my accusers. As a matter of fact, I welcome it. I've got some psychos out there who attack me and post all kinds of false information about myself, about being a radio troll and all this other stuff. And I've even opened up the airwaves. I said, I've welcomed them on. It's like, bring what you got. Let's compare notes and let's prove it. Let's see who's right and let's see who's wrong. Let's see who the fake is. But they always back down. They never accept the challenge. And that's because these people are, in most cases, they're fakes. They got no cojones. They can't stand with the truth. So, they like to hide behind profiles and throw out false allegations, and then they won't stand up to them. Now, I'm not saying that's the case with these two guys as far as Michael Horn was concerned. Whatever their case is. Now, I'm speaking on the ones that I've dealt with personally. I could say, with all honesty, that they're just, my God, I don't even think their mothers loved them. That's just the kind of people that I'm dealing with. And these people, they've had so many problems in their own life and still do. It's amazing how somebody could be a psychologist and they're going to help other people with their problems, yet they've got so many problems of their own, bankruptcies, alcoholism, drug use, and they're going to help other people. That's just amazing to me. So you see what I'm dealing with here with the COINTELPRO, which some will laugh at and say, oh, that's gone, that's all baloney, none of that's true. No, it's true. It's true. It's on all kinds of levels now, though. We've dealt with them all, and these people are literally paid on the other side of the coin. They are paid. They are taken care of. People are directing them to their targets. And for a few of these guys, I am their target. Now, and eventually what happens is when one don't succeed, he'll lay back for a while, and then they'll put somebody else in place. And, everybody, every cat thinks they're going to catch the mouse. You know what I mean? Each one of them come in with their claws out and their teeth dragged out and their tail in the air and their fur standing straight up, and they're ready to come in. They're ready to catch them a mouse. And they all come out with casts on their legs and bandages on their eyes and bald spots on their back. It's, I don't know why they bother. I mean, they must, I think they go to the circus to find the best clowns they could find to put in these positions. I really do. And, somebody had mentioned, to me that, they thought that, that they were, I'm not going to say who, but somebody had thought that they were on the best radio network, and this network was great, and it mainly doesn't really touch on half the stuff we do. But this person, he thought, oh, it's great, they're the best, and, I'm not going to say that, argue with anybody if they believe that, because, I wouldn't want you to argue with me when I say that I believe that L&M is the best. And it's not because I'm here. That's not why I think that. I think L&M's the best for several reasons. One is we don't do politically correct. We've got a hell of a lineup of hosts on this network. We do. I don't know if Ira has gotten the schedule switched around yet. I think we switched up a couple shows, but we do. We have, in my opinion, one of the best lineups. I mean, we got hosts who we're not going to cater to you. Nobody caters to anybody. We say it like it is. And that's just the way it is on this network. And at the same time, we expand the mind. We get into all kinds of things, including the paranormal. But we don't make the paranormal, the most important thing here, because quite frankly, it's not. That's something we love, don't get me wrong, and we love to explore it. But man, you can't go, I can't go, I certainly can't go a full week without talking about what's happening. I feel like I'm just as guilty as the people doing it if I don't talk about it, especially when I have the capabilities I have here. When I have this microphone in front of my face and I've got an audience listening and I'm not trying to wake that audience up, how could I say that I'm the best when I don't do that? So, we have to do that. But I don't know about being the best, and I don't think that's important. What is important is that I think you can ask anybody who does their show on the L&M Radio Network, and I think I'm guessing now that they'll all tell you that there's no place they'd rather be. I mean, nobody gets told what to do on their shows. The only thing we ask, the only censorship we do, is we ask them to not hit the F-bombs. That's it. And if that's such a bad thing, well, too bad. Get over it. Cry me a river. All right? And that's it. Because we want everybody to be able to listen. So I love the L&M Radio Network. I damn sure love Late Night in the Midlands. And I would put it up against anything out there. And it's not because I'm arrogant or cocky. It's because I understand what I have here. And I understand what we're doing. And I also understand that we cannot be bought out. It's just never happened. People have tried. And now you might understand why I love this Donald Trump so much right now. And I know that everybody's got flaws. Everybody's got flaws. They certainly do. And no doubt when you're a billionaire, you've got some flaws, certainly. But at this point, I agree where the politically correct needs to be thrown out the window. Say it like it is. If we had done this right from the start, if people had just said it like it is, that's why, AM and FM radio, these iHeart Radio and all that stuff, that's why it's not as great as it could be. And it's because the host and the shows are censored. There's certain things they can't do. They can't say. I mean, my God, they'll get canned if they play their music more than 30 seconds. I mean, so, in here, nobody's telling us what to do. But Trump, he's getting the attention now of, the bigwigs, the globalists, if you will, because, he's talking about a lot of things. He's talking about straightening out all these crooked deals, all these things that have been put in place to take America down. He's at least talking about changing those things. I'm not saying he's Superman or anything. I am saying this, is if he's real, and I think that he means what he says, I really do, then I hope to God he has his security up. I really do, because, something bad can happen. I can see it, just like Kennedy. I mean, the last thing they would want, you would think, is for a guy like that to get in the White House. Now, that'd be the best thing, I think, for us. I'm all for it, but I don't know if we're going to make it that long, to be honest with you. I hate to be gloom and doom, but I'm not so sure we're going to make it that long. I'm just not. There's this thing about World War III that we talk about every now and then here. That thing that I say is going on right now that, people, I got a few emails throughout the last several months. Oh, you're fear-mongering. No, I'm not. China retaliates. This comes from Natural News. Massive explosion rips through U.S. military ammunition storage facility near Tokyo. Sabotage device found on the scene. This came from Natural News. This is linked up on News and Discovery on latenightinthe.midlands.com. You could check it out yourself. There's a list of events here that has gone on. August 11th, 2015, China devalues the yuan, or the yuan, by 1.9%, sending shockwaves around the world and setting off a devastating impact to the U.S. economy. August 12th, Tianjin is reportedly struck by the Pentagon's secret Rod of God weapon. So you've got that. August 17th, there was a bombshell story there and photos of military helicopters circling Beijing, along with warnings that China is on the verge of declaring regional martial law. Now, these are some of the reports that are coming out. I can't confirm all of this. I can only say that I believe this. I believe that World War III is at our feet, and people need to recognize that, because China did devalue their currency, and right after they did that, come these explosions. There's a lot going on, folks. The system is getting rattled. It is being rattled like a baby's rattler. I mean, it really is. August 22nd, 2015. Early morning, U.S. time, another massive explosion rocks China's manufacturing heartland. So there was that one. And August 22nd, 2015, later in the day, U.S. time, a massive explosion rips through a U.S. Army munition storage facility near Tokyo. And it says here that China now retaliating with sabotage and currency warfare. So, it's all unraveling. Whether you believe it or not, the truth is the truth. These things are happening. And, it's not as conventional. I know everyone's thinking, well, if we're at war, wouldn't their planes be coming overhead and doing it? No, they're doing it a little differently, though. Because the globalists, or whatever you want to call them, they don't want us to stand up and take back control of this vehicle we call the United States of America. And so, they're cautious about what they're doing. But, folks, I don't know. I just wish we'd just take it back. Suspected gunman kills self after killing journalist on air and the cameraman. Now, already there's reports coming out, people saying that this was fake, and, I'm not going to speculate on that right now. I don't know. I really don't know. I could see it happening. Why is it fake? I mean, it could have happened. It looks, I don't know. I guess people were expecting to see blood splatter and so on. I don't know. I'm not going to get into all that. What I am going to say is that here we have, an incident that, whether it's really happened or not, the fact is that the mainstream media is reporting that it happened. And I don't know. If I had to guess right now, I'd say, yeah, it probably did happen. I don't know. But it's being used. Was the guy mind controlled? I don't know. We said the same thing about the guy who did the shooting at the church here in Charleston. And already they're trying to make racial things out of it. And saying that he had filed a lawsuit for one of the news companies that he worked for, this Vester L. Flanagan. He's the guy accused of the slaying, and he had killed the journalist, pretty young journalist, and her cameraman. And they're already using this. Of course, they're going to use it. Say, hey, see, this is why we got to get rid of guns. But, I'll go a step further. Here's a little sarcasm for all of you. Is this where should we now scream White Lives Matter? because, I mean, it was a black guy who killed 2 white people. Should we all now start screaming white lives matter? How about if we all take to the streets and we start going shopping? You know, hit all the stores and, you know, see, I'm again, sarcasm. Don't be doing things like that. That's what I'm saying. It's stupidity, right? And you know, you don't see people getting in an uproar. But boy, I'll tell you what, when it's the other way around, the mainstream media knows how to spin it to get people out there, I don't know, to pick up free TVs at department stores and burn down mom and pops. Yeah, a lot of propaganda out there, folks. Don't fall for it. You know, all lives matter. I don't give a damn what color you are. All lives matter. And anyone who says any different is a moron. It's just that simple. So anyways, there's another one. I watched as much of the video as I could see, as they let me see, and I don't know. You know, she was running, she was screaming, and, you know, it's horrifying. Just horrifying. You know, to think, I'm not going to talk like it's not real. I mean, I think it happened. But then I don't know for sure. So all I'm doing is reporting on it right now. I'm telling you what we're being told. And so that's what we're being told. Anyways, it's linked up under news and discoveries on latenightinthemidlands.com. And by the way, first state legalizes taser drones for cops, thanks to lobbyists. Yeah. So let's see. We got North Dakota, who has now legalized the cops, the militarized police, now even more militarized. And when it happens in one state, it moves to the others. Taser drones. And not just tasers, but they'll put things like less lethal. They say like rubber bullets, mace, tear gas, you know. Yeah, drones. Cops are going to have drones. They're going to chase you down with drones now. Dakota police will be free to fire less than lethal weapons from the air thanks to the influence of Big Drone, it says here. That's linked up too. You can go check it out. So for those of you in North Dakota, you better really keep your eyes posted to the sky. I'm telling you now, and it's coming around. But yeah, that's linked up. So look out for police drones, and I bet if you shoot at them, they'll shoot back. DOD manual allows journalists to be held as belligerents. That's right. If you're a journalist and you ask the right questions, you can be classified a terrorist and you could be held. And they don't have to tell anybody where you are. That's linked up too. You can go check it out yourself. It's all right there, sources and all. I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Michael Horn.
Older than the earth, before space and starlight, first there was thought, and then there was light. And shimmering on the dark ocean, in the falling heights, you were brought.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Including OxySilver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. OxySilver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. OxySilver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
The L&M Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an L&M subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Become a late nighter without the late nights. And subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
This is some dangerous stuff, and you don't need some politician in a blue suit to tell you that aliens are real, or to tell you that UFOs are real, or to tell you that there used to be an atmosphere on the moon or Mars, because we have evidence of it, and we don't need them to tell us. And besides that, why would you want them to tell you? Because they've been lying to you your entire life.
At Late Night in the Midlands, host Michael Vera takes a much different approach than most hosts do in an attempt to figure out what is really going on in the world we perceive to live. The show is not always about being correct, selling products, or putting his name in lights. Michael is concerned with the truth and connecting the dots no matter who and where they lead. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and I approach my show in the very same way. Sometimes you think that in order to be the best, you must appear the best, but the truth has no need for appearance and masking. It just is. Information is not negative. It is how you view it that determines the dimensional characteristics of either dual aspect of negativity or positivity. In less words, it's intention. Even if you disagree with what Michael discusses, we should be able to have an open discussion without de facto fallacies of ad hominem name-calling and ridicule, not predicated on fact or reason, but on ignorance, pettiness, self-absorption, narcissism, ego, and fear. Try as you might, but no amount of disinformation, propaganda, ridicule, name-calling, or trolling on the internet will change the truth. The truth is the truth, regardless if the mass is accepted as is, or if it is accepted by only one person out of billions. It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. I'm Ryan Gable, host of The Secret Teachings, and you are listening to Late Night in the Midlands with host Michael Vera.
On the east coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID Late Night in the Midlands.
Folks, we've got Michael Horn joining us tonight. I'm going to bring him on with us in just a moment. I'll give you a little feedback on him, and then, of course, he can give you the rest, fill in the blanks. The website, www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, and be informed. Folks, make sure you subscribe and donate. That's what keeps us on the air. And, our subscription's at $5 a month, or you could get the full year for $50. You save yourself $10 doing it that way. It helps us stay on the air. It helps us keep all the great shows that we have on this network, not just mine. And we appreciate it. And if we could keep this up, if we can get enough subscriptions, I've got Ira who works so hard with us. I would, it'd be nice if we could do things for him as well, for all his hard work. And the only way we could do that is with your support, because I'll tell you, it's hard to find loyal people. And Ira and his family are certainly just that. So they are assets to L&M, and we're glad to have them. And, the only way you do this is if you keep things straight and keep it funded. And so that's what we do. And we don't take money from anybody. We are listener supported. People will claim that, we're making money on advertisements and all this other stuff. Look, we sponsor some health products here, Healthy World Affiliates, which is an excellent organization. The products are great, and I use them myself right here at home, and I only make a few pennies on each sale. I mean, it's not like I don't get paid thousands of dollars to run commercials like some people seem to think. I'm not, Premier Radio and some of these others. And we only run 12 minutes of commercial time in a 3-hour period. That's it. It's only about 12 minutes. I was doing the math today. It's about 12 minutes commercial time. Now you get other ones that come on, talk to you for 5 to 10 minutes, and they're going back to a 15 minutes worth of commercials or what have you. Then they come back to tell you they're going back on break. I mean, so, we don't do all that. We try to give you as much information radio as we possibly can. We're going to do that tonight with my guest. We're going to be talking about the Mier prophecies and the UFOs and all that stuff involved with the Mier prophecies and the Mier UFO contacts. Michael Horn is the authorized American media representative for Billy Mier Contacts, which he has researched since 1979. Michael is the writer, producer, director of the award-winning new film And Did They Listen?, as well as the co-producer of the new documentary As the Time Fulfills, which presents an abundance of ironclad, accurate scientific evidence that irrefutably authenticates the Billy Mier case. He is the writer and co-producer of the award-winning feature-length documentary, The Silent Revolution of Truth, as well as the writer, producer, and narrator of the DVD, The Mier Contacts, The Key to Our Future Survival. So I'm looking forward to get this thing going. We're running a few minutes behind here, so let's go ahead and get Michael Horn on the horn with us. All right, we're ringing, folks.
Hello.
Good evening, Michael. How are you tonight?
Well, fine, thank you, Michael. And how are you doing?
I am doing just fantastic, and we are live, and I want to welcome you to Late Night in the Midlands.
Oh, well, thank you. I better be careful what I say since we're live now.
Yeah, that's why I got to get in the habit of warning guests because, you never know.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So, Michael, I thought we'd start out with some background, and then I'd like to kind of hit on, I had offered, I get emails, I don't know, you bring out the attention of some people, and I've gotten a couple emails the last couple times you were on, from individuals who claim that they could, detest everything you're saying and Billy Mier and all this. But when they're invited to come on to, talk with you about it, they back out. So I don't put too much into that.
Yeah, and they use funny excuses all sorts of stuff like, I'm going to change the terms of the discussion and this and that, or I'm going to harangue them. I mean, if I'm stuttering, it's because I can't get any of these skeptics to actually do the debates that they claim that they want to have with me. And I think debate is very, very healthy.
I do too.
It's like this is the type of thing we're trying to, bring forward, truthful information. We need to be able to verify and check things. It isn't because Billy Mier or anybody else, myself included, said something that it makes it true. But in the Mier case, it is. I hesitate here because it is so outrageously, monumentally singular and authentic that most people, at least initially, cannot begin to grasp it. Their reference points for what is true are they're very small and distant, and the Mier case is overwhelming.
Yeah, well, and it is, and the fact that because I've got my own people who try to track me down. Well, they don't try to track me down. They pretty much track down every little thing I do, and then they try to turn it around and say I'm a bad man. And I do the same thing. I invite these guys to come on, and I'll give them. I'm very fair, very fair. I would give them, all the time, as long as they're not spewing lies. I would give them all the time, they need to talk, but they
Sure.
never do it.
Well, that's the case also with the skeptics regarding the Mier material, and especially with the situation that just transpired, where I know you did open the invitation, I did too, to this one skeptic who's been haranguing and making all these claims, and I think I could put it this way, I think he made the mistake of doing a radio interview where it's a matter of record what he said, and it's equally easy to rebut it, and I did. I posted an article on my website, and today I put up a blog in which I also refer to that article, showing that this guy absolutely doesn't know what he's talking about. But that doesn't stop people very often from still talking.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And the same thing in my case. I got a guy who, he is devoted. I don't know if I should feel honored or threatened, but he's devoted so much of his time on me that, he's got several websites with blogs of information and pictures that he made about me and how bad of a person I am, and it's just the same thing. It's amazing. They won't stand up for any of their claims. They hide and they run, and I agree with you. Debate is very healthy, but these guys, when they don't want to debate it, that kind of leads me to wonder what they're really up to.
Well, a lot of people, during these very funny times we're in, a lot of people need attention. They need to feel important. They want something to do that they can also, let's say, push some of the boundaries of credibility and what have you without being held accountable. The internet has allowed people to really behave in many despicable ways. There are some sites where people just only will post anonymously, and I have a problem with that. I have a blog that I don't allow people to post anonymously on. I require that they, post as to under their real name, and the reason for that is because if we're going to take a stand, and there, it's fine. Not everything that happens online is, of earth-shattering importance, but for those people who are going to make strong statements, pro or con, I think it's important that they stand for that. You can chat among friends and do things and have, personas online and stuff like that. It's okay, whatever, people want to do. When you start to impugn people's character, or if you want to stand up for something as well, the best way to do it is as you are, who you are. Tell your truth and, come forward and take your chances and take the shots that come with it. We are in times that are changing ever rapidly, and even people that are, thinking they're kind of on the cutting edge of lots of stuff don't know some of the real stuff that is already underway. And I'll just say one more thing, because I keep on chatting away here. But I put up, I put up a video a couple days ago. It's actually the video that's received the most views the fastest of any video I put up, and it's not directly about the Mier case. It's an interview with a guy named Joe, and Joe had served in the armed forces, to put it mildly. He's done several tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's been involved in the weapons industry. He's been involved in lots of things, some of which, he's not even comfortable with himself having come out of it all. But he gave us an almost half-hour interview. It's up on YouTube for free. And it's very compelling. It really clears your sinuses to hear somebody speak who's not, pushing. He's not pushing a book. He's not pushing an agenda. He simply told the truth. I asked him if he'd be willing to do it, and he did. So we are in very rapidly changing times. The Mier case, and why I did have him on as an interview, is also because he has, without knowing about the Mier case before we met, his information corresponds to what Billy's been saying for decades. So there's really some important things to deal with here in life. Just put it that way, and I'll stop at that point because I'd actually prefer, whatever direction you want to take the interview and whatever questions you or your listeners have, I'd rather answer them than just, do more soapbox.
Well, sure. And I mean, I've got a lot of questions, and hey, that's how I learn best is by listening. So, so you mentioned our future and the bumps that we have ahead of us. What kind of bumps are we looking at? I mean, there's rumors out right now that the U.S. and China are already at war with each other, and it's good argument for that. And that World War III has pretty much already started. I believe it has, maybe not right here on this soil yet, but I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about celestial issues or planetary or both?
Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to use the Mier case as a reference point. But it isn't an abstract thing because the very things that Billy Mier started to foretell specifically as far back, beginning in 1951, he's the first person I know of who came out and warned about the coming unnatural man-made climate change that we are now, and I use the word beginning to experience because we ain't seen nothing yet. It's underway, and it's going to continue because we did not stop it. Because people didn't listen. Everything's about the buck. The scientists are basically useless once they get into any position of prominence. The majority, not all of them, but the majority of them go for the security, for the money, for their own interests, and they can be bought off, many of them. They're vested interests with enormous amounts of money, willing to pay people enormous amounts of money to toe the party line. So environmentally, we're going to be seeing tremendous upheaval. We already have changes in the climate that are unprecedented, that will only increase. Where we now have droughts going on where we didn't think that would even be possible, like California, where so much food for the country and the world is grown. This is going to affect food prices, food availability, many, many things and Mier warned about all this again. And it was suppressed. People deliberately made sure that his information did not get out. Chief among those parties, apart from the government and intelligence services, the number one obstacle to the truth, well, that's been the UFO groups, the UFO community and industry, as I call it. They are the ones who crank out all this chase lights in the sky diversionary nonsense, which is really something that has been initiated and supported by the intelligence communities. They crank it out, and they make sure that nothing about Mier gets out, because if they were to tell the simple truth, the Billy Mier contacts are the only scientifically proven, still ongoing contacts between a man on Earth and extraterrestrials. That basically shuts everything else out in that industry. Where do you go from there?
And talk a little bit about how it's scientifically proven. I think people need to hear that.
Oh my gosh, sure. On a number of different levels. You see, most people don't even know about the original analyses done on Mier's physical evidence. And by that, I refer to his photographs, his films, the metal alloy samples, and the sound recordings. These pieces of evidence that were presented in the late 70s to the investigative team. And elements of each of these categories, sometimes many elements from them, were presented to independent, professional scientific experts for analysis. In every case, the photograph, metal, sound record, what have you, turns out to be authentic, meaning it's not a hoax. It's not something accomplished by special effect. Of course, certainly not digital, because none of that existed when Mier started presenting this evidence. It's not a technological effect that he created, and there's no models involved. There were never any collaborators. There's no financial, money trail and tech trail. So you have people, even people at NASA, like Michael Malin, who invented the Mars Orbiter camera, saying, hey, Mier's photos, they represent a real phenomenon. These are not models. There's nothing to indicate that these are false. He said, I can't swallow the idea that some Swiss farmer is on a first name basis with extraterrestrials, but his photos are good. People like that. Now, in those original analyses, one of the interesting things, and I included it in the article that I rebutted the skeptic by, there's a page, actually in two separate books, there's a total maybe of 10 pages, where Wendell Stevens, the lead investigator, explains that on one occasion, listen to this, 4 different people, including Mier, 3 other people in Mier, with 4 different cameras, with 4 different kinds of film, photographed the same UFO, and the films were developed at 4 different labs. Now, that's the end of the game there when you start going into this. This is the stuff the skeptics can't address, so they try to stir up the water and claim, it wasn't a good they throw the silliest stuff out. None of them are qualified to object, and they never can put any evidence to the contrary on the table. In the past year, we've had 3 new independent photo analyses that were done and presented to us on 3 of Mier's most controversial photographic evidences, and they're all authentic. So the skeptic can rail all they want. They can carry on and, try to put you into a corner about something or other, but it's futile. But there is something I'd like to say there's 2 things actually. Michael, can I jump in on 2 things more before I shut up?
Michael, absolutely. I'm one of those hosts who does not mind. I like to open the floor for my guests. If you got something to say it. No offense here.
Okay. Let's face this fact. The confirmed, corroborated evidence that extraterrestrial life exists would be the biggest story in all of science and all of human history. That would be it, except for one thing. It would be exceeded by any proof that someone on Earth was actually in contact with extraterrestrial life. Pardon me. Now, the problem is that there's so many claims. People claim to be contactees, abductees, adductees, deductees, whatever you want to call it, and not a single one of them, truly, not a single one can come forward with compelling, independently authenticated evidence. Let's face it, again, it would be the most important story in all of human history. Well, Mier has literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pieces of singularly authentic evidence. And of course, he's got volumes of what we call the higher standard of proof, the prophetically accurate information. Now, here's something that nobody ever seems to talk about when they even claim that Mier hoaxed his photos, let's say, okay? So here's the thing. When you go online, you look up greatest photo hoaxes, greatest hoaxes in photography. You see stuff that's actually not terribly impressive, number one. It tends to be only 1 or 2 photos. And we're talking about let's just deal with pre-digital days. People, presented photos of, supposed little fairies and angels or, monsters or whatever. And they were hoaxed. And there isn't a one of them that ever really looks like anything. And along comes Mier in a precedent-setting way on several levels. Here's a guy in Switzerland who's not a known photographer. It's not his profession. It's not even his avocation other than as it relates to the Mier case, to his contacts. Here's a guy that comes along and in short order puts about 1,200 clear unambiguous UFO photos, 8 films of video. He puts all that on the table. A one-handed guy. 1,200. Do you know what people went through to set up 1 or 2 hoaxed photos? Here's a guy, click, 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 click. He goes out there, and just like they did on that, that event I recounted to you, where 4 people are taking photos of a UFO. It's all the same thing. That is so precedent-setting that it can't even be put into the category of a photographic hoax. How, this guy comes out of nowhere, verifiably no technological background, starts taking UFO photos in 1964. Of course, the skeptics don't even touch that one. And one of the reasons they don't touch it is there's a woman who came forward about 16, 17 years ago who's a retired UN diplomat who was in India as a child witnessing all this stuff. So you've got a precedent-setting circumstance to say nothing about the same person putting irreproducible sound recordings, metal samples for analysis at IBM. Who's this guy? Where'd he come from? What college is he teaching at? And then he's published over 26,000 pages of information. This includes something like 55 books, hundreds and hundreds of contact reports, filled with prophetically accurate scientific information. And nobody seems to grasp how precedent-setting this is. They want to think they can dismiss it because nowadays everybody has a computer they can sit at, and they can do a search online, and they can look at something and think that they're an expert suddenly, and they can start debunking somebody without having the faintest clue. So that's the thing that nobody talks about, how precedent and unprecedented the Mier case is to this day. Who has ever done anything comparable in any of the categories that he has all at once?
And that's incredible. So we're 1,200 pictures, and you say video too.
Video and films.
And video and films. And experts look at this stuff and say, yeah, it's authentic. And yet NASA is still telling us, well, we haven't found life out there yet. Now, what's wrong with this picture?
Well, I'll tell you, I've sent stuff to SETI. I've got some blogs up and YouTube stuff about my approach to SETI. People have to understand something here. And I knew it even when I put these blogs up, because my blogs and my video up there is a call to action for people really to put the pressure on organizations like SETI and MUFON and others. But the fact of the matter is these are shills. These are fronts. They are phony, 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 designed to keep people chasing their tails, lights in the sky, random signals, all the stuff that is absolute nonsense. These people at SETI are drawing big paychecks to do absolutely nothing. And let me tell you, for perhaps now 10 years, I have sent them information on the Mier case. They now refuse to respond to me or to any of the people that are now writing them. They will not respond. That means they won't say the Mier case is a hoax. They know that once they open their mouths, their credibility is shot just as badly as it is when they keep their mouths shut. This is a phony game. And if people want to do something and have a little fun, go to my blog, look up the recent SETI information. I put the email addresses of all the personnel at SETI. Write them emails. Hey, what gives here? You've been sent the Mier stuff. Want to tell us it's a hoax? Go ahead. Want to tell us something? So the truth of the matter is this is only really more of an emphasis that we have to be our own authorities. We have to not look up to these phonies, these profit-oriented parasites who 15 years ago were sitting in a classroom somewhere to be a scientist. Once they graduated, they could get into, I'm at SETI? Well, that's the important thing. I got to keep my little career going. I better not talk about, oh my gosh, yeah, I've never seen anything like that in my life. We're going to listen for radio signals. Oh, yeah. How dumb are people?
Stanton Freeman, he says the same thing about SETI, that it's just a front. It's just there for us to look at.
Well, on that, he and I agree. We may not agree on a few other things, but on that we agree. And MUFON, you couldn't find a... Listen, MUFON just made sure that the presentation I was supposed to do on the 14th of August in Kansas City, they forced it to be closed, to be banned. They shut it down. They pressured the organizer of it. Can you imagine that? They pressured the organizer to cancel the event. That is MUFON, because they know they're bankrupt on this. They don't have anything, and they keep having people who are nice people, gullible as hell, chasing lights in the sky.
Yeah, it's my opinion, and I think there's many out there who will share my opinion that MUFON has been infiltrated. Up at the top, there's who's the guy, the space guy there? I can't think of his name now. He wants to build a space station, private space station.
Oh, Bigelow?
Bigelow, I think that's who it is. Apparently, he has something to do with it now, and everything's going through him, so he's like the filter.
Well, here's the thing. I have on my blog from last year, I think, a guy who actually worked federal top secret level at Area 51, who works in the aerospace industry now, revealed to another guy who worked at Orbital, the rocket launch system down there in Arizona. They send the rockets up. Well, one guy, Ken Smith, he's come forward, and he said, hey, the Mier case is authentic. I'll get up on stage with you anytime. Well, there's a guy still working at Orbital who did all that top secret work, who was Area 51 the rest, and he said, he was approached by MUFON, but he found out that they vet all their stuff first through the CIA and State Department if it's at all credible type of stuff. And then Joe, the guy I just did the video on, said, look, what people are seeing in the stuff in the sky, he said, look, I've worked in that area. That isn't from outer space. These sightings of so-called UFOs, these are variations on very advanced terrestrial craft. Some of it's what we'd call stealth craft. And what happens is when they test these things, they then watch for the reports so they can determine how well the stealth capabilities, what kind of an appearance these things make, what they might need to modify to make these craft better. He said he's seen these craft himself personally. He's been underneath the darn things. He says that some of them have like some kind of an electromagnetic drive because it would make the hair stand up on his body. They could make these fast, sudden turns, that are not possible for aircraft. They all fly silently. And Meyer's been saying this for decades. This is predominantly secret military craft. So all the nice people that are into UFOs and aliens are being played for suckers. What they're doing is they're acting as unwitting, let's say, field representatives for the stealth technologies, for the secret military stuff, for the Bob Bigelows of the world. They're out there just, being a kind of little, well, we'd like you to do some product review for us. Oh, I saw stuff from outer space last night. Really? We're MUFON. Tell us about it. Then we'll forward it on to CIA and to State Department, and they can forward it around to the, the bases where these things are tested. And we're doing our feedback for you. Yeah, you can become a field investigator for MUFON and feel important. We'll send you a little kit.
Well, what happens when MUFON runs one through the State Departments or what have you, and they come back and say, well, that wasn't one of ours?
Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you at this point, they do know that Mier case is singularly authentic. That's why MUFON, I kind of pressured them. They put the Billy Mier case up on, a long list of cases somewhere, but they won't investigate. They won't report on it because they're a front. It's a shill. It's a phony stinking operation that Mier was warned about in 1953 before it even came into existence. They told him, one of your biggest opponents will be an organization, and they told it by name, MUFON. 1953 he's told this. And it's turned out to be the truth. And the problem here is, as my friend Joe, who did the video for us, has shown, all of this stuff is linked into programs designed to control, the population, certainly in the United States, and elsewhere. This does fall into the agenda for worldwide control. It's probably not terribly dangerous for me to say anything about it because the powers that be already know that most people are just too stupid to do anything about it, and they're going to go along. They don't, they're going to continue to chase lights in the sky and talk about imaginary aliens and alien abductions, which, as my friend Joe in the military explained, there's no aliens on Earth and they're not abducting anybody, but there are units. And I myself know firsthand, says Joe, that will go around and can silently even go through a neighborhood. They can get to a home if they want, anywhere they want, and they pump nitrous oxide gas in until the person is knocked out completely. Then they take every sort of biological sample. Sound familiar? Biological samples, folks? To categorize people, the technologies for categorizing and getting all the biometrics on people. We were doing that in Iraq. What do you think a good portion of that war was about? It was testing out these technologies so that every nice person out there can be monitored and controlled right down to the next step. They can know everything you're doing. And if you're all excited about having a smartphone and the rest of this, you're just playing into it. But it doesn't matter, any longer. I hate to say it. It doesn't matter that I say this or that Joe says it or Billy Mier says it, because people want to be entertained. They want to follow imaginary things to create excitement in their life. True. And they don't want to deal with harsh realities that are coming our way. And when you asked before what else is coming, well, the United States, Germany, and Chancellor Merkel over there, the EU and Germany, they're provoking Russia so that if they keep it up, as Billy Mier said, and we have the video online, we will see not a third but a fourth world war. He explains that would be the outcome of the direction this country primarily, along with the EU, is pushing things. Because you've got real lunatics behind the scenes at high levels of secret government and intelligence that really are salivating for a war with Russia. And this is a war that Mier has already long specifically, verifiably foretold. He even named the city to which the Russians would move their troops in advance to stage their attacks on Scandinavia and the U.S. And he named all that in 1987. It's been online since 2006. And the Russians moved their troops to that city, Arkhangelsk, 4 years ago. A minimum of 5 years after it was online, and over 20 years since he specifically foretold it. But, hey, we're worried about Bruce, Caitlyn Jenner, and Kim Kardashian, and this team and that one, and what the latest tattoo that we can have emblazoned across our body. This is what this country's turned into, largely.
It has. But yeah. Let me ask you this, Michael. Is that not to say that, so basically the ETs are obviously out there, but they're not the ones who are doing all these things to people? None.
There had been in the past perhaps a handful of actual abductions by ET races that really they weren't all malevolent. There were some that were malevolent, but some were just contact examinations, curiosities, and then these people moved on after they examined our species, because we're not alone in the universe by a long shot. But what the Playaran and Mier emphasized over and over, no, there's no ETs based on the planet. We don't have cute little big-headed grays carrying their little lunch trays in the cafeteria underneath the sands at Area 51. Isn't existing. No treaties. Why would an advanced space-traveling race that wanted to do anything nefarious need to make an agreement with a primitive earthly government? Nobody thinks about it. No, sorry, folks. You have not been abducted by aliens. If you've actually been abducted by anybody, it's your government's military/secret military. And in most cases, people actually haven't been abducted by anybody. Mass hysteria, sleep paralysis, hallucinations, overly fertile imaginations, because all this stuff is relentlessly pumped into our media. There are no aliens on this planet. They're not stupid enough to get involved with this truly suicidal, lunatic world of ours. The ones who, have been in contact with Mier for the past 73 years, they have provided every form of information and evidence that a reasonable person could use and would want if they cared about the truth, if they cared about their lives. But the problem is, too few people do. They are just lost with entertainment. And so ultimately, when stuff goes down, there'll be lots of, why didn't somebody warn us? How could this happen to me? And we're going, hey, we've been pounding away at it every way we know how.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Well, and I agree with you that there's a majority of the people out there who that say they were abducted and really they're, there's other things going on, whether it be upstairs or where have you. But then there's those people who have really had these experiences. And I always ask an abductee, how do you know the government wasn't behind your abduction? And they always say they don't.
Right.
So usually that's what they say. And some will say, nope, it was definitely the ETs. I seen both ET and humans standing over me. And
oh, yeah. Because Mier also explained long ago, first of all, there are some surgically altered people made to look like quote-unquote aliens that are part of that whole thing. I mean, this has been on my website for a long time. And on top of that, if you get, let's just say, an operation like the Army Rangers could do, that Joe mentioned, and maybe some other branches of the military, they get you into a state where they can induce false memories into you.
Sure.
People don't know what the heck they're talking about. Hey, when was the last time the President of the United States called up one of these contactees, or even the Vice President, or a Supreme Court Justice, a member of Congress, the senator, a senator, a congressperson, a governor of a state, the mayor of your town, or the dog catcher? Why suddenly do you warrant the attention of an extraterrestrial life form? You don't. They could care less. They don't need your flawed genetics and your crazy emotions and your goofy mind.
I love it. I mean, you're just laying it out on the line there.
Well, I mean, why hasn't anybody ever thought about this?
Exactly. Well, I have. I've thought about the, but that would be really, I guess for me, if I was an abductee, I'd be upset to believe that the government was behind it, because they really, it's like, wow, E.T. come and got me, and now you're telling them that didn't happen. And they could get pretty offensive really quick.
This. I mean, that not only, now there are experiencers groups, and there's all sorts of phonies doing hypnotic regression, which is absolutely unreliable, cannot even be entered into evidence in a court of law, and can't effectively, this is an industry. That's why I call it the UFO CI, the UFO community and industry. And all these folks that have gotten themselves, it's like, can you imagine how they're being laughed at by the people in the intelligence agency, that they've run so many people in circles with this phony stuff when there's real issues that people are now absolutely incapable of grasping and dealing with in their own real everyday lives, but they think that aliens are abducting them. 15, 20 years ago, if you'd said something like this, you'd be locked up or laughed at. I've been abducted by a little gray. Well, first of all, the so-called grays were just androids. They weren't, extraterrestrials. They were androids, artificial intelligence, robotic creatures that were piloting craft for exploratory purposes. They didn't abduct anybody. This is why, not a couple things, why you can't get the Mier material covered, A, in the mainstream media, because it's controlled by these corporate military industrial interests. B, you can't get it exposed properly through any of the so-called UFO organizations, because they're controlled through those same parties and entities. And it's also why people think I'm such a bad fellow because I'm so vocal about this. You know, let me say something. At this stage of my life, in a sense, I could give a lesser care. It's like more than likely they're not coming after me at this stage. They're going to go, well, he's old enough to kick off at some point here. Let's not draw any more attention to it. I'm hoping that that's the reasoning. But most of the people out there are younger than I am, and they're just absolutely been turned into dopes.
You know, and you make a really good point. You know, you would think, why wouldn't the government be more interested in these abductees unless it's that they know that it's them doing it?
Oh, they've got to know. And then you've got the most cynical, stupid thing are these dog and pony shows put on by profiteers like Stephen Bassett and his stupid exopolitics group, and they pay Congress people $20,000 a piece to show up and go, yes, extraterrestrial aliens. Oh, yeah. And Bassett knows the Mier case is real, and he never dares to mention it. I've talked to that guy for 6 to 10 hours myself. He's admitted he knows the Mier case. It's not time for it yet. We have to send faxes to Washington about the UFO cover-up. The only UFO cover-up is the Mier case. The rest of this is absolute gibberish.
And we're getting a little bit of an echo. Oh, there it is. Okay, I think it's gone now. So yeah, we've got a break coming up in a few minutes. But, yeah, so we were getting into some of the future stuff. And so did Billy Mier, I mean, I'm sure this question's been asked a lot, but why him? Why did they go to him?
Oh, well, I have to, whenever I answer this question, I always have to say, according to the information in the case. That means that I cannot tell you from my own experience other than what has been said, and that is this. Mier's spirit is an extremely ancient one that has played the part of contactee/prophet 6 times in our human history in the past on this world. The names of the prophets who his spirit was formerly incarnated as would be Enoch, Elijah, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Emmanuel, and Muhammad, all of whom were true prophets, all of whom had their information corrupted and falsified, all of whom were meeting with the Pleiaren in this very, very, very lengthy mission to try to get the truth into our world, since we were already so badly led astray. So his spirit incarnates this 7th and final time as a prophet, and this time they make it into a not so much of a charismatic personality. He is by the time the world is discovering him, he's a late middle-aged, pot-bellied, gray-bearded, one-armed Swiss farmer. Not exactly the kind of guy that legends are made of, except in this case they are. But he's not, like some flamboyant contactee guy running around, making all these wild claims. He puts out his evidence, works at home and all the rest. So his spirit is it's said it's enormously ancient, and it has played this role of prophet and truth bringer before, as I said, on this world, and quite possibly on other ones. But this is speculative. I don't ask people to believe actually anything in the Mier case. It just can give you information, some of which you can determine the truth for yourself, some of which we have no means of proving or disproving, such as this. So that's the reason. And, of course, it turns out that he has the requisite strength of character, steady nerves, all the rest, to endure the outrages directed against him, which in his life means 22 attempts on his life, losing his arm, children almost kidnapped, just horrific stuff. So there it is, Billy Edward Albert Mier doing what not a one of these phony contactees could ever in their lives imagine handling, even a fraction of it. They'd be running for the hills the first time somebody fires a gun at them and barely misses. Off they'd go. Mier hung in 22 times. So there it is.
Well, yeah, and you know, I agree with you that it looks to me like there's quite a bit of evidence that, despite people not wanting to believe it, that these things were going on. And, you know, I'm certainly not somebody who's going to say that it's fake. I mean, for me, for somebody to tell, you know, they got to prove it to me. It's not that, hey, prove to me that it's real. No, prove to me that it's fake. I mean, if you can't, you could redo this if that's what it is. If it's if it's something that was made up, well, I don't know, duplicate it, show me, and they never do.
They can't. There are people that have done some nice work with models, but the models are always, detectable as models, and Mier stuff is always provable as not models. And of course, just as I said about the precedent of all the evidence and all the information. He's 5-6 categories going on here. It's in human history never anything remotely like this, and there's enough for any thinking person to go, okay, wait a minute, I've heard enough of this guy Horn blathering on about this. I'm going to go check it out for myself, and then I'm going to start sending Horn questions and challenges, and I say thank you. That's all we're asking you to do. Think. Do it yourself. Yes, send me questions. Takes me a little while. I answer everybody that writes me, which takes a lot of my time, but I do this to get the information out. So it's people say, well, aren't you frustrated? I'll say, well, in a sense I am. I know that what we've, those of us that have been working on this, people that I've known over the past 36 years, and of course Mier, 73 years here, twice as long as I've been at it, we know that this is really, unfortunately, but true, really meant not for this generation because they knew people would be too stupid. It had to get into the world and preserved electronically and enough noise be made so that the people that succeed these generations, when all the stuff has hit the fan and this place is radioactive and destroyed and burnt down and continents have crashed and all that, they'll be able to still find the stuff and go, okay, hey, I guess we better read what they were advising us to do because it probably holds true now. It's too bad our forefathers here, our people that preceded us, didn't take this advice 20, 30, or 100 years ago. We might not be radioactive today. We might not be starving. We might not be just, malformed and malfigured and mutated because, people were just... They wanted to entertain themselves. Can I tell you?
Yeah, I'm with you. To some, entertainment is more important than the truth, and that's I'm saddened by that. I really am because we're at a time now. Things are pretty tight now, and any move we make now could be our last. I mean, we're at that point where everything's coming to a head. All the control is starting to unravel. All the lies are starting to unravel. And I guess what happens in the future will depend on what we do now. So people could stay in denial, but eventually the truth is going to come knocking at their door.
Well, you're right. And unfortunately, I'll add to that. The future also now is being fulfilled based on what we've done and haven't done in the past up to this point. Our inaction and all of the horrific stuff done by our country in our name in the past, that we and our future generations will be paying the price for because of that immutable law of cause and effect. Because there ain't no guy in the sky that's granting wishes and prayers, never has been, never had, never demonstrated it, and it ain't going to happen now. We're now stuck with being responsible for the mess that we've made and the mess we've allowed to be made. That's actually the good news, because now, at least eventually, and that means probably hundreds of years from now, things will improve when people finally get the message.
Okay, well, we're heading for that break. One quick question before the break, though.
Sure.
One of the listeners asked, and I know he is, but I'll let you answer. Asked if Billy Mier is still alive and is he still having contacts?
Both.
Yes. Okay,
yes.
And maybe after the break we could talk a little bit about that.
Whatever you like.
All right, sounds good. Hang on with us there, Michael, and we're going to take this break, and we'll be back. My guest, folks, is Michael Horn. Like him or not, he he says it like he sees it. And, I have a high respect for people like that. Whether there's agreement on everything or not, somebody who instead of beating around the bush, just says it like it is. That I like that. So, folks, we'll be back in just a few minutes. And if you want to call in, you may do so after the break. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. We'll be right back. Want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.latenightinthe.midlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Joshua Vera, and I wanted to inform you that Late Night in the Midlands is offering limited on-air advertisement. With 30 and 60-second spots available, or inquire about placing your banner ad on the LNM website. Or go ahead and package a deal, but either way, get the attention you deserve and join the LNM family. Contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. Again, that email is mv@latenightinthemidlands.com.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about Oxy Silver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. Use 528 Superfood as a great tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight, and Zeolove and Natural Clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from CureShop.com, including Oxy Silver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol, electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. Oxy Silver is covalently bonded to water, unlike any other silver product, using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently bonded silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. Oxy Silver works 3 ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risks. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from thecureshop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Become a late nighter without the late nights. And subscribe now to help Late Night in the Midlands bring you the best guests with the best information.
The L&M Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
There was an enormous football-shaped glowing object hovering a very short distance above the ground.
It got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the next thing we knew, it was right over us, And the light was so bright, then it stopped at treetop level.
I thought it was doomsday. I really did. I didn't know what to expect after seeing two more in the field across from my house. I didn't know if it was invasion or what.
A hatch opened up from the underside of the craft. A tube came down, and a platform slid down. So this being comes down and walks over to the front of the patrol car.
They were bald, no hair, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, and no earlobes.
We don't have airports that support jets that size. Wow. They started with the chemtrails early this morning here in New Hampshire.
We went into places that, Nuri would go, well, let's just go to the phones,
On the east coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina. You're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264. Or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID, Late Night in the Midlands.
But watch what you wish for, because you might get government shills filling your home with gas and making you believe that you have been abducted. Well, you were abducted, but it might not have been by aliens. My guest is Michael Horn, and he discusses the Billy Mier information. He is the spokesman for it, really. I think he's even witnessed some of it himself. We'll talk about that in just a moment. The website is www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means inform others. Feel free to call in. The number again, 803-317-2264. You can also call in using Skype. Just make sure you have your settings right so we can add you in if you use Skype. And do not use unknown numbers. You know my number. I need to know yours. Otherwise, I'm not going to answer. All right, so let's get back to it. Again, my guest is Michael Horn. And so, Michael, we talked about quite a bit there in the first goings here, the first segment. I thought maybe we could touch on the listener's question about the new contacts or the most recent ones.
Well, Mier continues to have contacts, and it takes time before we get the information because the contacts are in German, and it requires that somebody volunteer their time to get that information from Switzerland and then translate it and all of that. But Billy continues to meet with the Playar, and they continue to have very interesting conversations. I was over in Switzerland in late May, just before June turned, and I did some more filming. I put the clips up on YouTube. It's all linked from my blog. My blog is theyflyblog.com, and you can hear Mier talk about what he's foretelling about the IS, the Islamic State, what he's foretelling about what scientists will do about the coming asteroid Apophis, and what the circumstances that could push us into a fourth world war and what have you. So it's all up there. We do what we can and put the information out. Then it's up to people, to learn how to take control back over their own lives, so that indeed they can contribute to the remedies here, the getting ourselves out of this mess. And that is all spelled out in the Mier material. It's just like people have to go and, if they care, start doing their due diligence.
And so, if we're gonna see a World War IV, then what becomes of World War III? I always thought World War III would be it.
Well, what Mier explained is we've already had World War III. It was what we call World War II, because there was a great war in, I guess, late 1700s that involved a number of countries. And he explains it on the video clip. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but he explains that this was technically the first World War. And then what we called World War I was actually the second, and World War III was actually, World War II was actually the Third World War. Now, for some people, it just may be a semantic kind of thing, and if they want to think of it as a possible World War III, I mean, it's however you cut it, it ain't a good thing. So
no, it's not. Now, another question comes from the chat. Listener asked, did Billy Mier say anything about ISIS or ISIL or any of these terrorist groups?
He sure did, and we have that video up there. He, as far back as last November, just a few months short of a year ago, they put up a request and they said, would you please publish this and start a petition? So I tried to petition, the White House. We didn't get enough signatures, but basically what he said then and what they're still saying is, unless a real, true international armed force of over 300,000 soldiers is brought together to confront the IS. If that is not done, it will spread worldwide and can send us back to the Dark Ages. Now, we're already seeing that even in the Middle East, and in some parts of other countries where it's popped up, these are brutal, barbarian, absolute psychopaths down to the last one, and they cannot be reasoned with. And this is the first time that Mier and the Plejaren have ever suggested military action in our world. They said, if you don't do this in a united way, your world is going back to the Dark Ages. These people are going to try to establish a worldwide religious, order, and that if you don't belong to it, you're not going to be here, and you're going to be brutally sent off this world. As we can see, they are training children to behead and execute people right now. This is so far beyond our understanding, but it is happening, and this has been warned about. They are trying to wake us up. But if people just want to, sit around and play with their fingers, what are you going to do?
What's your opinion on Obama's so-called slip-up when he says that they're going to continue funding ISIS soldiers or whatever it is that he said?
Well, let me put it this way: anybody can make a slip in what they say. I know well enough that people attack Mier on the darndest things that have no real substance, where if a word was in the wrong place or something or other. Human beings make mistakes when they speak. But Mier has said specifically, had the U.S. not, under its phony pretenses, gone into Iraq and destabilized the country and, killed Saddam Hussein off, we wouldn't have this problem, because Hussein would have never allowed the IS to gain any strength. He probably would have wiped them out as soon as they stuck their heads up. But we went in there under these phony pretenses, which also, as I mentioned before, according to our friend Joe, had a lot to do with testing weapons and biometric technologies to enslave people everywhere. Had we not gone in there with the Bushes and the Cheneys and the other insane demonic profiteers pushing for all this, it wouldn't be coming back to bite everybody, including us. And Mier was very clear, it's coming here too. A lot of these people are already here. This should be no surprise to anybody. The sleeper cells are here. The renegade terrorists are here, and it's a very hard tactic to fight. It's guerrilla warfare, if you want to simplify it, but it's guerrilla warfare that can now spread on a worldwide level, and it's guerrilla warfare of the most brutal and barbaric kind, the most indiscriminate killing and destruction.
But when I look into it, the problems I have with it is not that these people are sick and they do want to cause harm, and all it takes is, that's like these riots that'll happen in, say, Baltimore. All you need is a couple shills to be thrown out there to start doing these things, and you'll always get idiots who will follow. And I think that's the case with this ISIS stuff too. However, if you look back, you can see where there's actually ties with, and I'm not one of those Jew haters, I'll say that right now, but there are ties with the Israeli intelligence and the United States intelligence with Al-Qaeda and ISIS. It's almost like they started playing with fire, and the fire got out of control.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I don't argue with you because, look, there are a lot of good people in every country. There's a lot of people that aren't so good. In Israel, you have people that want peace, and you've got a lot of people that simply want war. Mm-hmm. And there's no shortage of conniving that one can attribute to the Israeli, intelligence apparatus. They are a very conniving kind of a group, and that they have set false flags in motion, that they would kill their own people and Americans and anybody else. This is the type of thing that is not to be, overlooked, and that there are elements in the U.S. government that would side with the Israeli, the warmongering element in Israel. That's no secret. This is, all about profit and control. So the problem at this moment is that, as Mier said, it's our policies that have started this thing. If you come right down to it, it's U.S. policies run amok, and because everything in life is cause and effect, we are now, and many people in the world, reaping the effects of these causes, where we've set in motion stuff that's taken on a life of its own with these absolute degenerate killers. And whoever may have been thinking it was a great idea, connected to Israel, connected to the U.S. or anybody else, it's too late for that. We can say the royal family of Qatar, according to Mier and the Play Iron, they fund the IS. They fund it. This is the royal family of Qatar, sometimes pronounced Qatar, Qatar. These are, super billionaires that fund these lunatics. They are paying for genocides against other people. This is the world we're living in. It is a lunatic asylum. It's not looking to be improving, in the short term. It can only improve if people decide they want to improve their own lives. Let it be a very selfish consideration. And they want to know how to do that in a way that actually works.
Right, and the other thing that bothers me about it all is that they say that, well, we've got to be careful, there's a big terrorist threat, but, so we've got to have TSA at the airports, but yet they've got our borders wide open. And I'm thinking, how many terrorists have probably already come through?
Oh, that doesn't stop anything, except it stops average people from flying. And delays things and screws things up, and it's basically show. Plus, they sold a tremendous amount of equipment, a company that had a vested interest in creating these stupid X-ray machines and the rest of it. It's more business. Like Billy, he says in the video online, this bombing that the U.S. is doing in the Middle East, it's just to make money for the munitions people. It doesn't have any effect on the IS. This is the world we're living in. Everything's for the buck, and it's very short-sighted, and it's going to be very, very painful. Are you there, Michael?
Yes, I am. Oh, sorry about that. Somehow I got muted over here, but I was reading off a question from our chat room. Asked if there's any way we could get Billy Mier to ever come on the show, and I believe last time you said it'd be difficult to do, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he doesn't do interviews. He speaks German now almost exclusively. So he doesn't do anything in English. Even when I go over there, the fact that I'm not a fluent German speaker, I suddenly magically figure out how to speak some German out of necessity and understand it. And that's why I also will film certain things so we can translate it later and make sure we got it right. But Billy doesn't do any more interviews, and he said what he needed to say. Although he continues to publish the contact reports because he has the contacts. He transcribes them. There's information we can benefit from, and he puts it out.
And you, did you say that you have actually witnessed some of this before?
I've seen a small monitoring craft when I lived in the mountains of Brazil. It was October 3rd, 2011, approximately 10:05 p.m., because I had just finished doing a little radio interview. I was in my little cabin up there in the middle of nowhere, and I decided, I think I better go outside and get a breath of fresh air. Just like out of nowhere, instead of just going downstairs and going to sleep. So I opened the doors, and I looked outside, and I thought I saw a star, kind of a big star. And then it started to move, and I thought, oh my gosh, that must be a firefly. Oh, whoa! And then I was kind of scared for a second because it wasn't a firefly. It wasn't like a creature. It was a consciously controlled object that was moving under its own power. It came down and then turned to my left. The whole sighting probably lasted 15 to 20 seconds, somewhere in there. And then it just it was very slow moving, so I could watch it. And then it was gone. And I went to Switzerland the next week after that, and I told Billy, oh, yeah, he said, that's probably like a little telemeter disc looking in on you. And the funny thing is, and I have it in my film, the film is called, And Did They Listen? There's a photograph that some people in Switzerland took in 1989. And there's two of these in broad daylight that showed up in the photo. They were photographing some work being done, and when they developed the film, here were two of these craft, broad daylight, glowing like white eggs. And it's exactly what I saw up there in the mountains.
That's amazing. I've had sightings of my own, and, despite I don't know who's driving these things or who's controlling them, I will say that it's some amazing technology wherever it's coming from. And if it's coming from, any of it that I've seen is coming from the government, then I'd like to know where the heck they got it from.
Well, I've had 6 other sightings. The one in Brazil was the only one that I could say for sure was ET. There were 2 others that I had broad daylight in Los Angeles directly over my head, way up in the sky, that I think could have been. I never asked Billy about him for some reason. I thought, that's really interesting. I was lying on the ground in the same spot. I had taken a break. I lived in L.A., and I was lying on the ground, my hands folded underneath my head there. I look up, and this thing comes. It's pretty high up. It's white. It's, coming across the sky, and it stops like directly above my head. But I mean very high up. Then it moves like in a right angle. It goes backwards, it goes forwards, and stops, and then it zips off. And I think it was either the next day or 2 days later, I went out there again, the same thing happened. And I thought, well, that's pretty curious. But I've had 2 sightings in Arizona too, and another one in LA, and and I've had witnesses with me on 2 or 3 of the sightings. But the one in the mountains of Brazil, that was a little, monitoring craft. But the UFO thing, I mean, it's interesting, but it's not all that important. It's only important to MUFON so they can, milk people for their time and money and all this nonsense of chasing lights in the sky and then talking about aliens with no proof whatsoever for any of it.
I see. All right, and we got another question here from the chat. Being asked, has Billy taken any photos of Earth from space?
No, not that I know of. He had taken a series of what are called the space photos, and the problem with those were that Mier would take photos, he'd send the film out and get it developed, he'd throw the photos in a box, a shoebox or something. He wasn't that concerned with it. He would take the photos and all, he had it, he knew he was supposed to do it. But the photos that were called the space photo set, apparently those had been manipulated between, going to the lab and coming back to him. And this, of course, gave certain skeptics an opportunity to say, he's faked all this stuff. These are from this magazine or that. No, he hadn't faked anything, because the real, and this is what I hammer away, all those real like all the daytime UFO photos Mier took, those have been shown to be authentic. Case closed. The stuff that was from the space trip that came back and they finally realized, wait a minute, this is pretty questionable. I don't think this is what we really took, and it looks like it was messed with. Well, that's unfortunate, but it doesn't damage the case because it's not important to the case. It would have been great if he got the original photos back. We would be seeing some fascinating stuff. But apparently it's not the case.
What about the moon? Anything on the moon?
You mean, well, when you say anything on the moon, do you mean is there anything there, or what did they
yeah, is there any information passed to Billy, or has Billy passed any information on about the moon? And
oh, yeah, and I'm not looking at it right now, but I can tell you that it's an ancient body that actually was kind of dragged into our solar system, not by UFOs, but rather by a comet coming through. It had attracted it from another system, a whole other system somewhere, and it ended up coming in here and then being captured by the gravitational field of the Earth. It's not a man-made object. It's not hollow, and it's old. If you search for origins of the moon on my website on They Fly, you'll find the document that tells you how old it is and everything else about it. It's a pretty interesting thing, but it's nothing like all the nutcase conspiracy people try to make it out.
So, do you think that there's any? Well, if there's a secret space program, there's obviously got to be something up there, right?
The last thing Billy told me was there are no human beings, there's no Earth people on the moon or Mars. This is not true. Are there any, let's say, satellites or kind of space station type of thing circling Mars? Possibly so. But there's nobody, we don't have anybody living on Mars, and we don't have anybody living on the moon. No. Okay, I'll tell you something. The guy who I did the interview with, this guy Joe, whose background is enormously interesting at every level, military, weapons industry, secret military. I have a photograph of him driving the Mars rover on the moon. I mean, on Mars. They have Mars rover on the moon. Driving the Mars rover by remote control, because it is controlled remotely from a certain location. And he had the opportunity to do that. And we have photographs of it. I'm not posting stuff. They're not in my possession. I should just be really clear. I've seen them. They're real. I know where they were taken. And, like he said, look, if this is our technology, our best technology, you don't think that we've got anybody living on Mars or the moon? I said, no, I know from the Mier material we don't. And, even the secret military craft don't have fully, interplanetary, let alone interstellar capabilities, nothing close.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think that they have the ability to go like Star Wars type travel.
Oh, not even to get through the solar system. No, we don't have all that technology. We don't have ways of protecting, ourselves against the radiation, all this stuff. And Mier long ago also wrote about all this stuff. This is the thing. I mean, people think that they've just discovered sliced bread or something, but they haven't.
Yeah. Well, as far as Mars goes, I think that at one time there was life there. As far as anybody living there now, I don't know if they are. I don't think I don't know.
No, there's nobody there now, and you happen to be right. There was civilization on Mars. That information is contained in the Mier case. We have a lot of information about that. Where the people came from, what happened to them, why there's no longer life there. You can read it all for free on my website. You're not going to get it from these people like Andrew Basaggio and those people who are just simply pathological liars. He's never been to Mars. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But this drives me nuts. goofy things that people believe with no evidence. No evidence, nothing.
Right. But I will say this in all fairness, you know, he believes, it seems like he believes he did this. And, you know, I can't say if he did or didn't. I can only use my common sense and say that it's kind of hard to believe. But.
Well, of course, you see, people, this is the thing, too, with mind control programs. People can be made to believe things, and they can be very real. In 1958, Billy Mier foretold 162 different things. It's an amazing, freely available document. One of the things he foretold was that in the future, the United States would be involved in moon landings, except for one thing. The first one would be a hoax. He wrote that in 58, 11 years before Apollo 11. And in a later contact, one of the ETs, Quetzal, explained what they did with, I think it was Apollo 13, was one, that they went on a mission. They claimed that they couldn't get to the moon. They were having all trouble, blah, blah, blah. They got there and they put down artifacts that supposedly would have come from the Apollo 11 mission, which never happened. And it's an insidious thing, the kind of fraud that's been perpetrated on people. Now, this isn't just conspiracy people speaking. This was coming from Mier, who first foretold it, then from the Plejaren, who explained what happened. And he also explained there were 37 people who were involved in that whole project who were under hypnosis and drug-induced states to believe that they had gone to the moon, to believe that they had participated in this mission, to believe that it was real. And a lot of those people aren't alive anymore. And some people have even said when they've watched interviews of the original Apollo 11 astronauts that, who was it, Buzz Aldrin or somebody, that there's just this really strange kind of hesitation and conflict going on with some of the answers they give, either because they came to realize that it wasn't true, or internally they're having problems with their false implanted memories. You know, I don't tell people that that's true. I can't prove that. But that's in the Mier case. I can say this. The Mier case, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is authentic. His contacts are real. He's been on those craft. He's taken photographs from inside them. We have a couple photos up. And we show it, of course, in the films. He's done all this stuff. We have a record of verifiably prophetically accurate information that wasn't and couldn't be hoaxed. Is everything in the case true? I can't say it. I can't prove things that pertain to the far distant past or the as yet unarrived future, or things that are so concealed by, let's say, military and intelligence, entities that I don't have any access to it. So we would have to just, reason to ourselves, if we determine that the body of information, evidence, and all this stuff that we can show is authentic, if we can accept the idea that it is such a credible foundation, we might even give the benefit of the doubt that the rest of the stuff is probably true. And then what happens, of course, Michael, is every so often, and it isn't very, infrequent, it happens fairly regularly, something else that Mier verifiably published before happens. And we go, okay, there's another one. So at what point are we going to get false information from him? My answer is we're not. He's not that kind of person. He doesn't lie. Simply doesn't lie. There's no reason to. He doesn't have to make himself greater than he is. It's the most important story in all of human history. Where do you go from there?
Well, I guess we can go to another question. We've got one of our listeners asked if you believe that teleportation is real. Not so much Andrew's story and so on, but the technology itself.
Well, as we say about the case, too, there's nothing to believe. We either know something or we don't. But understanding the nature of the question, I will answer it this way. In the Mier material, when you get into the core of the case, which is called the spiritual teaching, there's no religion, there's no beliefs. They do tell you that certain abilities, such as teleportation, are in the potential of the human being, and as we progress more and more, first of all, we'll be able to do those things technologically in the not so distant future, but it's still pretty much in the future, we'll be able to do those things. And then there are people who will be able to do those things through their consciousness related powers. That is much farther away in the future. But yes, of course, teleportation, levitation, there's this other one, telemetry, what is it called?
Telepathy?
Well, telepathy too, but I mean, Mier can do two specific types of telepathy, which nobody else can do either, which is the material telepathy, it's called, and spiritual telepathy. We're not capable, we don't know how to do it, and people, make their claims. What Mier does is he was trained since childhood to do it. So he can, and he does, and he's demonstrated it by being able to transcribe all the material of their conversations that they transmit to him telepathically. So, yes, all of those things are within the realm of, of our development and possibility, but we haven't mastered so many of the basics of life that are really key to our survival. We better focus on those. Really should focus on those.
All right. So what does it all mean in the end game? I mean, what should we be looking for here in the near future? And are we going to be contacted as a species? I mean, all out mainstream type contact, like here we are.
Well, look, let me couch it and say these things. Because when you ask me these questions, I'm giving you my opinion. I'm giving you the information as I understand it in the Mier case. Mm-hmm. For instance, I can say this. According to the Mier case, nobody can teleport themselves, or nobody has telepathic powers. Now, does that mean that nobody does? No. That's according to that information. Now, if it wouldn't bother me at all if suddenly I'm sitting here talking to you and somebody appears in the room and says, well, I just showed you. Well, it's fascinating. Great. Teach me how to do it. I'm just answering based on the information in the case. So when we talk about what does the future hold, will we be contacted by aliens and all that stuff, I don't think real contact is imminent by a long shot, and for very obvious reasons. Look, right now, this planet, as you said, you think we're already in the Third World War. Well, yes, in a sense, or a Fourth World War, however we want to define it, it's going on already. And unless we're very wise, it's going to go to a point where, according to the information in this case, published almost 30 years ago, almost 30 years ago, our country will be largely destroyed. Our greatest, according to Mier, in his words, our greatest cities will be utterly destroyed. Our country, the northern hemisphere, will be probably uninhabitable because of damage from radiation and all these biochemical weapons that every lunatic power has acquired and developed. In the future, when human beings have settled down again and actually learned how to think and become sane and non-suicidal, when we've gotten ourselves straightened out, then we would be fit as a species to interact with other species. At this point, there's nothing in it for an advance. What's the upside for extraterrestrials to try and contact us on this planet when not only are we in all these wars, we've got wars going on in cities. We have terrorism. We've got some lunatic shoots a couple news people on the air today in one place. You've got people blowing up each other somewhere else. What do they need to come down? Hi, everybody. We're from the stars. Kill them. I mean, really? They need that? No. We're not civilized. We don't have a culture in this country. And most of what calls itself the civilized world is anything but. We're barbaric. And we have this is one that, Mier has caught flack about, but he's really said, the countries that are allowing this illegal immigration are absolutely insane. It's suicidal. Oh my goodness, and then all the people who, you've got to be humane. And he wrote a great article, I just read it the other day, about how inhumane it is and how stupid and how we just do not know how to think. Here's a point from it. I was going to do a blog on it at some point. He talked about in Europe and the Mediterranean area, all those people are, on these boats, and there's these horrible tragedies taking place with people either drowning at sea or flooding into countries and barely surviving, and they're viewed as poor refugees. And Mier points out something nobody mentions. He says, well, they're not. He says each of those people have to pay thousands of euros or dollars or whatever to get a ride on some piece of crap rubber float that was going to go down as soon as bring them across the sea. These people abandoned their own countries. They had enough money to pay their way out. They were not the poor. They were not the true refugees from wars and things. They were just wanting to take advantage of other countries where they could make more money in them. And of course it's a human tragedy no matter, but we're so falsely humane, we can't separate what's really humane from what isn't humane. So what happens is the destabilizations of these other countries occurs, tragic losses of lives, children who have no say in this are put at risk, and these people put themselves at risk for a lot of money to gamble that they'll make it to make money in other countries that they didn't help to build. Wow, did we ever look at it that way? No.
Oh, exactly. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you start getting into the Mier material, and it's got something to offend everybody, but if you're someone who simply wants to think and know the truth, my goodness, you're going to be stimulated and challenged, and you're going to start coming away with, oh my goodness, what's gone on that I haven't paid attention to? This guy just isn't really about aliens, because that ain't what it's about, folks. It's about what we're doing to ourselves here. These other people that play our end, they've been through all this eons ago. They'd like to see us not destroy ourselves, to not be so stupid that we just do ourselves in. Wars, illegal immigration, pollution, contamination, the BP disaster, Fukushima. Mier's the first person, days after it happened, he published the truth about Fukushima. We're only now beginning to find it out. And we've had it online since he first knew it. This is where, if people were really wise, they go, you know what? Let's start taking a certain category or two or three from this case, researching it, and dedicating our time and effort and energies to working on this and alerting other people, because, hey, it's about us and whether or not we survive. That's the thing. So people can dislike the fact that I'm calling out all these UFO phonies who don't know what they're talking about with all their imaginary alien everythings, and saying, well, get down to earth. The only guy that's really got any real contacts has been trying to wake your butt up. But you want to play make-believe. It ain't helping. It's just not helping.
And I get really frustrated with people who take things for fact. We're getting an echo again here. People who take things for fact that they can't prove either way. It bothers me too. But doing what I do, I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'll never go and say anything's fact if I don't have the proof to back it up. And that's one of the things I like about this case. It seems like there's a lot of evidence. I like evidence, and I've seen the debunking, so-called debunking, but I've seen that none of it's, so far from what I've seen, none of it really stands too much ground.
Oops, I lost you.
Oh no, we're here.
Okay, good. Yeah, I agree with you on that. There isn't any evidence, and I honestly, as I said it much earlier in the show, I cannot understand how people have fallen for all this stuff. Okay, you can say, well, the intelligence stuff has been very compelling and they really worked. Yeah, it's true. That's the only reason that this makes any sense, that it's possible that people are this gullible. People are gullible. They have no evidence. And they listen to people prattle on about aliens and all this stuff. My goodness. How did you ever get yourself so wrapped up in imaginary stuff? It scares me that people have gone into such dumb places. I don't know how else to put it. So, yeah, where's the evidence? Where's the proof? What does it mean at the end of the day? And the problem is that it doesn't mean anything, these silly, goofy things. And Mier sits up there. He does his work. He puts the information out. People can do with it what they will. And then somebody puts a clip up on YouTube, alien spotted, milking a cow or whatever. Oh my gosh, 2,900,000 hits. Sure, because it's, we need more entertainment in the world. I mean, really. This is the stuff. And I want people, look, if you have people that want to send in questions or ask them now or anything like that about what's going on, please, do so we can. I can't tell you that I can answer everything, that I know it all, or that Mier knows it all, but we want to be able to do the best we can to point people in the direction of where they can check stuff out for themselves. That is what's really, really important. Not that they believe. Not that they believe. And, I did 4 presentations at an expo. 4 presentations in Canada in the past couple of months. I was up there. I did 1 presentation in Toronto, and then I was to do another one at an expo. And the response was so great. They told the promoters came to me and said, "People want you to do more. Will you do 2 more?" So I ended up doing a total of 3 presentations at an expo up there. People were spellbound. There was standing room only because everybody else babbling about UFOs has 0 evidence. There's a guy who was up there. He was talking about the Serpo case. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Serpo.
I don't think I have.
Well, good. You've missed nothing. But it turns out that on the ride back to the airport, he was sharing in the car with me. And so I said to him, what is this Serpo thing you keep on talking about? I've never seen any evidence at all. And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's real," and blah, blah. So when I got back to the States, bottom line, I exchanged 30 emails with him. He was unable to present 1 piece of evidence. This is a guy who writes books and lectures on Serpo, another disinformation gem from military intelligence that people like him are rushing to, drop on everybody's poor head. Utter nonsense. So naturally, like if I go to a UFO event and I say, "Listen, this is the only the only scientifically proven UFO case." I said, "I haven't seen any evidence for any other one." Now, look, I'm talking to you as somebody who's had 7 sightings, one of which I'm pretty convinced, that was a player in craft, but that's anecdotal. It doesn't mean anything. You don't go saying Michael Horn's a contactee. I'm not. I'm simply a connectee. I connected to a sighting. But it doesn't prove a darn thing. And so why would we pay attention when I can present easily a 4-hour live multimedia presentation on the Mier case with enough evidence to choke a horse, and not one of these babblers can put 1 photo up? Really? What do you do in a world where people think that no evidence is the same as the best evidence? That's what we're at.
All right. Well, Michael, we're getting near the end, and most of the questions came from chat. I will give people an option in these next few minutes. If they want to call in with a question or a comment, they may. But in the meantime, what I'd like to do is give you the floor. Get out anything that you'd like, websites, appearances, or anything that you've got going. And, we'd like to stay updated. Any new messages come in with Billy Mier, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about those as they come.
Well, thank you. I mean, I'd be delighted, of course. Let me put it out this way. I'll give out the addresses. It's pretty easy. I have a website and I have a blog. Now, I've started to do even more blogging than I was doing before, and I've been putting up YouTube videos. People are interacting with us in a second I'll be able to tell you the exact number, but we've had people from all over the world. Let's start there while I look up the stats for you. Have come onto the blog, pro and con, wanting to say this or say that, and they discuss the Mier case and all of these facets of it and all of this information. And I'm very grateful for that. Obviously, I don't have to agree with everybody that posts there. And, people they're not forced to believe anything in the Mier case, what have you. They are given the opportunity to discuss it with each other, with me, and all that good stuff. So I've had visitors on my website from 171 countries. That's on the website. And the blog is probably not quite as many. I'll find out while we speak. But we want the conversation to develop. There is so much free material for people to delve into if they're interested. We've done a lot of the hard work for people. That means the research done by the original investigators who were Lieutenant Colonel Wendell Stevens, Lee and Britt Elders, even Gary Kinder and others, has been all digested and made available, not for people to believe, but for them to review. Okay, on my blog, visitors from 162 different countries. So we're kicking pretty good there. Now, with that type of a thing, if people are serious, if they're looking for something more than entertainment and escapism, then my website and the ones linked from it and my blog, wow, there's a whole bunch of stuff, and you can really, 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 jump into it. If it isn't for you, if you feel like you really just want to, be entertained and chase lights in the sky and stuff, that's fine. If that's your hobby and everything like that. But there are those of us that have a slightly more serious, take on life. And we found that so many of the truly important things and questions in life are addressed in this material. And it's very thought-provoking. It's very uplifting. There's people literally all over the world forming study groups. We've got one here in Arizona for over 2 years. People come together now to get to the meat of the matter. The UFO nonsense, the UFO crowd, all the UFO phenomenon stuff, it's dead end. You'll notice that in all the years that all the expos and the MUFON have been going on, apart from the Mier case, there isn't one even thing, a single thing, that has brought any evidence of actual extraterrestrial manufacture. Think about it.
Well, there is one case that I hold kind of dear. I think he's passed many lie detector tests, and that is Travis Walton. So
yeah, wait a minute. Travis Walton, I spoke with him. I met him in New Mexico. He's a very sincere person who had, along with I think the two people with him, some kind of a very weird experience where it is not a normal, this wasn't just like some kind of normal experience. Whether it was extraterrestrial or not, I am not in the position to say. I've actually never heard Mier comment on it. I think the Pascagoula, there was an event in Pascagoula that was some form of an extraterrestrial abduction contact case. I haven't heard any word on Travis Walton, but I happen to like him because I felt he was a very straight shooter. He told what he felt was the truth, was his experience, and that's fine. That he knows he can't even prove that it's extraterrestrial, but I wouldn't put him down for it because he doesn't, at least my experience with him and what I know of him, he's not running around making the kind of goofy claims that people who've had no kind of real experience do. So I just put that in the category of real case, but real what? I don't know. If it turned out that it was alien, then fine, we finally know. But other than that, I don't know of anything out there that's worth the time, and yet people, want to, chase after it and run themselves silly. So it's not. I don't really want to, spend a heck of a lot of time knocking this other stuff, but I have to tell you, it is the UFO community, it is these groups, it is the this element that has made the greatest attacks and caused the greatest prevention of the Mier material coming into public knowledge for people to find out for themselves. So I don't have any respect for the MUFON, SETI, Open Minds, ATS, all these stupid groups that are deliberate disinformation. I want people to be able to know that if this material holds any interest to them, they don't have to join, they don't have to buy anything. I'll give you an offer. If you want to buy a film like my last film, And Did They Listen? I'll send you 2 for 1. You buy the DVD, I'll send you a free one. Other than that, don't buy anything. I don't care. Go on my website, go on my blog, talk about it, read tons of free information. If you want to go farther, yeah, We've produced good films. There are books. And that's like any field where if you decide you want to go deeper into the study, people like me who've spent their own time and money to make these things available, you buy them. And I'll give you 2 for 1. What do I care? But in the meantime, really, just all they have to do is mention your name. Just say Vara in the order. Okay, pick something and I'll send you another free thing. Happy New Year. In the meantime, knock yourself out. Go to theyfly.com. Go to theyflyblog.com. Send me an email with a question or a challenge, and I won't be insulted. And I'm not going to attack you if you do.
All right.
I'll tell you this. I'm just the filmmaker, right? So I can speak for my DVDs. I've had some books from Switzerland that I represent and sell. I'm not the publisher of them, but I love them. They're great. And there may be a couple more coming out. But, I've made the DVDs. I've won awards with them. They've been shown all over the world. Some are on YouTube. It's, close to 1 million views altogether. But other than that, it's just free stuff, and go do with it what you will. And I hope it benefits you. I hope it gives you inspiration for knowing more about truth, that you can see through the shams of politics and religion and the huge religion that the UFO community industry is. And just get as much benefit out of it as you can. That's why I do this. I do it voluntarily. I'm not paid by Mier or his group to do this. So everything I do is I do for free. And the only time I make money, and I mean, not that I owe anybody an explanation, but let's put it this way. I only get paid if somebody buys something, and in the meantime, I just keep doing what I do because I trust life. And I know that if I do what I need to do, I'll have what I need. And if you have what you need, then you're wealthy. That's it. It doesn't mean you've got tons of money or fancy cars. It simply means when you have what you need, you are wealthy. Don't be greedy. Appreciate what you have. Be full of gratitude. Help to take care of, the plant. Look, Billy Meyer came out in 1951 talking about our need to take care of our home, our earth, that we, humanity, was destroying it. And if we didn't stop way back then and wake up, it was going to be just an environmental disaster coming down in the future. We are now in that future. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, storms, typhoons, things of ever greater magnitude are the order of the day from here on out. He's foretold some of the specific ones, other ones generally, and I don't know that we can do anything about that now except try to make a difference. What else can I say?
All right. Well, Michael, I appreciate what you do, and I like how you're no nonsense. You say it like you see it, and there's nothing wrong with that. So I thank you so much for being on the show tonight, and we do have you linked up on LateNightInTheMidlands.com, so people can get to you there. And anything else you want to throw out there, by all means, go ahead. But thank you.
Well, thank you so much. That was it. I've said what I needed to say, and let people take it from there.
All right. Well, thank you again, Michael, and have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Bye,
right.
Michael. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. All right, everybody. That's Michael Horn, and, I don't agree with everything he says, but I don't bring guests on to argue with him, I guess. That's why I guess I'm kind of glad I haven't done any kind of regression stuff or any of that. I'm glad I'm not an abductee, because if I had that experience, then I would have to argue that. See, he's not saying that people aren't seeing UFOs. He didn't say that. He's saying that a lot of what is being seen is government. A lot of the abductions, or all the abductions even, are government. See, I don't totally agree with that. But, who knows? I'm not saying I'm right, and I'm certainly not saying that he's right. I'm just saying that, for me, I believe that some of these abductions are government. I believe that some of them could very well be extraterrestrial. I mean, are they? I don't know. Like he said, he makes a great point. Nobody ever comes back with a piece of the ship or that kind of proof, and so I could see it. Now, for me, I've had my sightings. I just had another one this past weekend. Autumn's seen it too. What is it? If we've got these anywhere in any of our airports, I want somebody send me a picture. I promise I'll never give your name. If you're military, you could show me some of this stuff. By all means, send it to me and show it to me, and I will put it up on the website. But other than that, it's how do you argue with people, that see things a certain way? And it's like arguing with me with the way I see things. I mean, it's you're not going to change people's mind. Once they're set in their ways, they're going to be set in their ways. I mean, all my guests who come on have a strong belief in what they're talking about that night. And almost all of them, some of them bend and some of them say, no, this is the way it is. And I kind of respect it. I don't have to agree with it all. I do respect it, though. So with that, folks, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to come back. I'm going to do some talking here. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. Don't go anywhere because we're not done yet. We'll be back. Need your L&M fix? You can find us on social medias everywhere, like our Facebook fan page, Late Night in the Midlands, or our Facebook group, the L&M Radio Network. Our other Facebook groups, The Last Frequency. You can also find L&M on Twitter at L&M Radio, and all of this and more can be found on our website at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Again, that's www.latenightinthemidlands.com, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Alright folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place. Welcome.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Whoa! Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Now get started.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from theCureShop.com. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
Hey, folks. Do you love late night in the Midlands? Do you miss shows because of the time of night? Do you wish you could listen at your convenience? Well, we can help you out with that one. Become a late nighter without the late nights and subscribe. Become a late nighter for just $5 a month. That's right, $5 a month for the paranormal, the unknown, the known, but most important, the truth. Go to www.latenightinthemidlands.com and subscribe right away to become a late nighter and help keep the LNM Radio Network on the air. The LNM Radio Network offers a moderated chat room at www.latenightinthemidlands.com. Just click the chat and listen page from the drop-down menu at the top of any page on the website, or click the Listen Live button at the top of the homepage at www.latenightinthemidlands.com.
In many cases is the idea that the aliens are essentially trying to create a hybrid mix of themselves and ourselves. They're interested in our DNA, our genetic makeup. And beyond that, they're interested in our personalities, our affection for our children, our love for one another, a whole kind of range of what we think of almost the most human characteristics we have emotionally.
We have to face up to reality that, for example, the UFO phenomenon is a real phenomenon, no question about it. So anybody who debunks the UFO phenomenon itself don't know what he or she's talking about.
Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
I know that I bashed Bush the entire time. I wasn't even allowed on Coast to Coast there for a while because I was told not to talk about Bush.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Late night in the Midlands. We cover everything. Imagine, if you will, a man, a media, speaking the truth. Imagine a show that covers UFOs, E.T. races, the paranormal, and the not-so-normal. A media that speaks the truth no matter who or what it leads to. Imagine, if you will, a media that covers everything. Folks, you just entered the LNM zone. LNM, keeping it real when others don't.
On the east coast of the United States from the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, you're listening to Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera. To talk to Michael Vera, dial 803-317-2264 or around the world on Skype. Just use Skype ID Late Night in the Midlands.
You know, if I find you've been creeping around my back stairs, whether you're just some maniac troll psychopath who, I don't know, wants to tie me up and break my ankles and all that and get me to sign your books or whatever, I don't know, you're going to have a lot more to worry about than just my foot, that's for sure. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. As a matter of fact, if you happen to be the NSA style person or the any of that, and I catch you creeping, I'm gonna get you. Folks, interesting guest tonight. We've talked with Michael Horn in the past, and he really let it all out tonight. And, and again, I know some would ask, well, then why are Billy Mier's contacts real, but everybody else isn't? And all he's saying is that he feels there's solid evidence for Billy Mier's. And, and for me, I listen, I've said this before. I think that 95%, okay, well, when you talk about alien abductions, I think it's a little different. Okay, with paranormal, like ghost type stuff, I think 95% of people are telling the truth. And I think that while probably 75% of that can be explained away, even if they don't explain it away, and probably 5% of it's unknown. And so that would be the percentage I'd want to hear, I guess. Well, alien abduction's a little different. I mean, honestly, not even making no jokes here. There are people who are a little out there. They're a little challenged, shall we say. And, I mean, they come up with some wild stuff. That being said, there's people who are not touched by an angel, shall we say. And they also come up with some really wild stuff. So, could the government be behind all this? I think that they could be behind a great deal of it, yeah, but, I would be upset. If I was somebody who I know for a damn fact I was abducted, I'd be upset if I had to come to the terms that my government did that to me. It's one thing when it's E.T., that freaks you out, I'm sure, a bit. It raises a lot of questions, but then when it's the government, I mean, well, that's how things like ISIS could get formed, I guess, because that'd make me pretty mad. For me, I have to believe, and I'm not one that goes on belief so much, but if you had to ask me, I don't have any evidence, any proof, okay? But if I had to guess myself, I'm guessing that there's a little bit of both. I think there's some ET stuff going on here. I don't think ETs are all that benevolent. I don't think that they're all great. I don't think that they're all here to help. I mean, I really don't. I think that you're very naive and you have trouble thinking outside the box, period, if you think that. Because, I mean, that's like being, okay, so somebody on another planet's thinking, well, they're all benevolent, they're all great, and then they'd meet us, and, well, that would spoil the plan just a little bit there, wouldn't it? The dream would kind of falter. It wouldn't work anymore. So, I don't know. I'm not pretending to know. This I do know, is that I have had now, in my life, 8 sightings. I have had now 4 that were incredible, okay? And I've had just a few of those while there was lights in the sky. Could have been, couldn't have been, okay? I count those because they're unidentified flying objects, whatever they were, okay? But then there's these other ones, like this one last weekend, this past weekend, and again, Autumn was nearby and I made her see it. I was like, you gotta look. She couldn't notice it right away. I had to point it out. It was moving slowly. It was far, far up there. I mean, it looked like just like any of the other stars did. If you were to look up there and just take a glance and not stare, you would have thought they were just a couple stars, but they weren't. They weren't, and I know this because they were moving together. And from the ground to my visual of them, I mean, they look like when you see 2 stars in the skies, and that tells me they were a hell of a distance away from each other. I mean, a hell of a distance away from each other. They were miles and miles and miles and miles away from each other. And those are just the 2 light points that I seen. And I have to assume that there was a 3rd light point that I wasn't seeing. This thing was big. And it was moving. So who's driving this damn thing? All right, somebody is. We seen it. All right, we seen it right over Lake Murray in Columbia, South Carolina. So if anybody else was out in that camping area, anywhere around Lake Murray, and you seen it, you probably didn't though, because you would have had to have been looking up. And I know most of you are always, even if you're sitting at the fire, you're still looking at your smartphone and you're texting your friends. So it's a good chance that nobody else seen this. I seen it. You know why? Because I don't have a phone. I don't have a cell phone. I look up. When I go outside, I make good damn use of it. I look up. But anyways, I wanted to get into a little bit of some other areas here tonight as well. And for the record, not seeing the chat here for a few minutes because I've got something up on my other screen. And I wanted to talk a little bit because Michael Horn and we had started the conversation off with, people who challenge who we are or what we do or what we believe in. I guess it's a little different for Michael Horn and for myself because for him, people are challenging, his information or Billy Meyer's information, and some are challenging Michael Horn and, him standing for that or what have you. So they've got some issues. See, I don't have any works like that out there, so that's not the problem. My problem with the people I deal with is that most of them, some of them no, but most of them, there's a couple of them anyways, who rode my coattail. Who skeeched a ride, shall you say. They grabbed my bumper and they stood on my coattail and they slid across the floor with me, you see, because they used myself and my trust and my late night in the Midlands, and they did this, to get themselves out there to go or to get their whatever they're trying to sell out there, what have you. Some of them do it just to be disinformation agents, and they love to discredit somebody and even get you to get on their side and go along with their nonsense. And so those are the types I've dealt with. The types I've dealt with are real nasty. They're real nasty. They're really mean. They would cut your mother's throat if they had the chance. These are the type of people that I'm dealing with. And you've heard about it through the time. And no, I just got a message. No, Peter Kling's not one of them. Peter Kling's actually a good guy. I like him. I think he's a little bit into his belief system a bit. But, I still like him. I think that he's got a good message. I have got nothing bad to say about him. Our falling out, has really nothing to do with who he is or who I am. At least not on my end. I'm talking about guys like Eugene, Dr. Michael, who I'm talking about. People like that. And even Ed Cherini, another guy who I've dealt with. And what these guys have done is they've gone beyond what a troll or, those types of definitions. I mean, when you look at when you look at the definition of a troll, it's, one who posts a deliberately provocative message, say to a news group or a message board, with the intention of causing maximum disruption, argument, divide, conquer type stuff, make people question things, get things riled up, take people away from the message. They try it in our chat sometimes. They'll come in and they'll start calling names or being racial or whatever. And the reason they do that is because they don't understand what chat room they're actually entering. The people in our chat are awake. They don't fall for that. They actually encourage your banning. So that's the trolls. And you deal with those no matter what, especially when you're in the public eye. You're always going to deal with trolls. People, they're forum trolls. They go in there and they just want to stir things up. Some of them are paid. Some of them, they work for corporations, a lot of them. And they're paid to go in there and disrupt because, especially like, say, Monsanto. You're talking badly about him. You go and post it somewhere, like, let's, for an example, before it's news. So then you'll get their cronies, their little midget trolls that they send out there on the internet to try to stir up the conversation and take it away from the truth and the facts. So that's a troll. And these guys, while they did some of that, it's much worse than that. I mean, then you look at cyber stalking, which is a crime in which the attacker harasses a victim using electronic communication in a lot of cases, such as email or instant messaging, or messages that are posted to websites or discussion groups. And cyber stalking messages, they differ from ordinary spam or trolls and that type of thing, in that a cyber stalker targets a specific victim with often threatening messages, like Eugene Sonny Irvin used to do to me. Of course, I've blocked so many avenues on that guy, and now he's actually harassing the women again. So he's laid off. He don't like people who fight back because he's not a real man. And another one that fits this bill would be Dr. Michael Nuccitelli, and he's another guy. And I don't say this because I want to be mean or rotten. I don't. And even Ed Sheerini, he wasn't a cyber stalker. He didn't fit in that category. He put up disinformation. He spread it a little bit and he moved on. And, he comes back to it every now and then. So he wouldn't really fit in that bill. He's like, he used to be full-time with me for a very short time. Then he went part-time. And now he just, it's on his website and it's for people to, to go throw people off when they go there. I actually should thank these guys a little bit, because what they're actually doing is they're sending, otherwise confused people over to me, and these confused people come over to me and they say, well, I don't see any of what these guys are saying. That's right, and it's not a persona. I'm the same person off the air that I am on the air. And these guys, when they do get the opportunity one day to see me in a courtroom, God help them, should that day come, and I believe it will. We're working on it. They're going to see that I'm the same exact person in real life that I am here on this radio show. But they're so he wouldn't even fit in there. Ed Sheerini, he's an FBI shill. He's I don't know. These guys, I think they got get out of jail free cards. It's like they got busted doing whatever crooked stuff they were doing, and then that's how they get wung in. And then it becomes like a job for them. And I mean, it has to become a job for them, because how could somebody spend that much time on one person and not be a job? I mean, we're looking at like 8 hours a day. And I say this because all you need to do is go and look at Late Night in the Midlands or L&M Radio Network and hit our favorite there, right? Google, which I hate to recommend. But if you go there, and you put in L&M Radio Network, you'll see pictures after pictures after pictures that psychopaths have put in there. Well, a psychopath has put in there. And it's all to lead people to his website, where they will then, if they fall for the propaganda, will then see these tools, these internet safety tools that he sells. And he is using my name and my brand to sell those so-called safety tools. So what he does really is he creates the problem, Dr. Michael Nuccitelli. He creates the problem, and after he creates the problem, he acts like he's some superhero trying to fight it. And the truth is, if he didn't, without permission, go into my website and start changing things around like it was his website, and if he didn't lie, and if he didn't try to control things, as he did, and if he would just admit it, and things would have been fine. But see, this is where we're getting into the psychopathic type personality. I mean, we're talking about cyber stalker, yes, but kind of psychopathic because, there's times when he would be in our chat room and he would threaten people. He'd say, I'm going to gas up my car. Like he was going to come and beat them up because they didn't think his way. I mean, these are the type of people that we're dealing with. These are the type of people I'm dealing with. So, I've got a few guys out there, and they have their minions, and their minions do a lot of it for them by command. But these people are out there. They're COINTEL. Whether you want to call them COINTEL Pro or not, that's what they are. I mean, they're out there to hurt me and others like me who will not bend over and go with their flow. And that's what happens. That's what I deal with. So I think it's a little different. And you got, and a little bit of sociopath in there too, and that's somebody who's defined as, I guess, somebody who is suffering from antisocial personality disorder, meaning they'll sit in their bedroom all day long, they'll have a curtain broke just a little bit, smoking their cigarettes one after another, staring at their computer screen, constantly looking to fight. I mean, in their own head, they're like a superhero. And big superhero. And so I fight people like this. I don't let them roll over me. And because of it, people say, you ought to be more like George Norrie. You ought to be more like Art Bell. Or you ought to be more like this one or that one. And don't touch on that stuff on air. And yeah, you should be a welcome mat yourself. I'm not. I'm not going to be a welcome mat. And so I deal with these people all the time. It's a lot of disinformation. And, most people don't even bother with it. To be honest with you. But folks, so when you're in chat rooms and you're in these places, be careful who you become friendly with. I certainly am. It took everything I had and certainly to trust anybody again with my radio show. Ira is awesome. And, I think if he ever stepped away, that'd be it. I think I'd do it all myself. I wouldn't want no help from no one else because I don't think I'd ever find anybody that trustworthy to work with me. I mean, it's really hard to find people like that. And so these are guys who, Ed Sheeran, he's just somebody who, he said everybody was an actor. Everybody was an actor. And then when I disagreed with him and I told him that I thought he was a Fed and that he was full of it, on the air, on my show, because I just got sick of it. And, he says Barack Hussein Obama was really bin Laden. And me, I'm really quirky. I don't know if you guys remember the 80s show. I don't even remember it. But there was this guy, Corky. Apparently he was I don't know how else to say it, but a retarded actor. Okay? He also says that I'm Adam Walsh, and that I never had my head chopped off. It was all a lie. And now I'm playing the part of Michael Vera, which I gotta say, this is my best role yet. I love playing the part of Michael Vera. It's awesome. You know why? Because actually, it's a part that I actually get to be me. How about that? So there's that idiot, that moron, who, God, and believe me, there's a lot of people who fall for the propaganda too. And I've had evidence shown to me that he has had his run-ins with the feds. And the feds recruited him, okay? And if I'm lying, Mr. Cherini, take me to court, okay? Sue me. All right? And so, because that's what he always says, well, why don't they sue me? You know why these people don't get sued? I'll tell you why these people don't get sued. Because it costs too much damn money to take their broke asses to court and come out of it still losing. And this is what they want to do. They want to distract you and waste your time. So if you're going to sue, make sure that when you get everybody in on the conspiracy, one of them has a few bucks so it's worth your while. I mean, really. So they know what they're doing. I mean, most of the time you come out with nothing and you get them to take down their blogs and then they get one of their cronies to put something else up. And so it's a game. It's just to keep you distracted. It's incredible, folks. But we're dealing with it, actually. We're doing stuff about it. You know, stuff I can't even talk about on the air. But things are being done about this stuff. And, you know, enough is enough. I'm not going to let the COINTEL win. But this does happen. So when I see these guys, they get on the air and they're crying about, you know, people are after me. Oh, they want to kill me and all this other stuff. I laugh. You should see what I go through. I mean, I've gone mailboxes ripped through, weirdos coming to my door. They've had, and I know this will sound paranoid, but I've had people who were, I feel, planted next door to me and then trying to send hookers to my door. I'm telling you, they try to set you up like that. And God, if I would have opened the door and said, sure, honey, I can help you with $20 for the diapers you're asking for, somebody would have been taking pictures of me, handing the woman money. You know, that's what they do. That is what they do to you. So you got to be careful in all aspects and everybody you trust. Even in our chat room at latenightinthemidlands.com. We got some great people in that chat. But, you know, you never know if somebody's not who they say they are. So I say use caution because the psychopaths, they find us, folks. They find us. With that, I want to thank each and every one of you, wherever it is you may be, around the globe, in the chat room, on the phone lines, wherever you've been listening, even if you're hovering at, 30,000 feet maybe. Folks, thank you. We'll be back with you tomorrow. And tomorrow night, I have a guest by the name of Z Paris. That's the name. And says that the second coming of Christ is going to happen. It's happening. So we'll talk about it. We'll see where it goes. That's all I could do. Folks, keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see. And while you're at it, a shout out to Ira and Jolene for all they do for L&M and for all our moderators. And we've got a nice little crew that we've put together here. Thank you all, and keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Good night, everybody.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Hey folks, Slickery Trigger here. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about Rebel Road Tactical. As a defensive pistol instructor, I've had the opportunity to observe many different holster designs and configurations. And one thing is clear. Many of my students won't carry a pistol. Or worse, they'll carry one without a holster at all. Holster designers aren't making holsters for normal people. It seems that most holsters are either an expensive piece of gear designed for Rambo or a piece that doesn't fit or function the way real people need it to fit and function. So, like any good Texan, I decided to learn to form kydex and design one myself, one that would fit the needs of average people. The result is the Rebel Road Tactical CRT Modular. The CRT stands for Carry, Range, and Training. Its thin and lightweight curved design minimizes printing and is adjustable to fit just right for superior comfort and function. Check us out after the show at rebelroadconcealed.blogspot.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.